Welcome everyone today. Thank you for joining us here with the New Mexico Rural Efficient Business Program. If you're from New Mexico, I hope you enjoyed the snow this week. Quite a bit of snow fell in most of New Mexico this week. So welcome and thank you for joining us. I'm joined today, I'm Jennifer Sinzaba, I'm the CEO with New Mexico MEP. I'm joined today with Jalal Rastegari from New Mexico State University is with us today. And soon we will also be joined by Joanna Nelson with the New Mexico Economic Development Department, and our special guest today from one of our businesses that'll be talking with us about what energy efficiency and business efficiency and how they've been able to optimize their processes to be more successful right here in New Mexico. So with that, I will lead it over to Jalal, who's going to tell you a little bit about the programs going on at NMSU in regards to efficiency, and then I'll tell you a little bit about MEP, and then we'll bring on our special guests.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jalal Rastegari. I'm from the College of Engineering. Hopefully, I don't know why I have background noise. I'm from the College of Engineering, and this is my contact information. The college has few outreach program. One of them is in engineering business assistant, and this program is helping businesses in New Mexico for more than 20 years. I've been with the college for 12 years, and we have different programs that I'm going to talk about it later on in the program. At this time, I'm just going to introduce myself and we go to the program, and I'm going to talk about my slides later at the end of this program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Jalal. And as Jalal said, later in the presentation, we'll give some more information on exactly how each of our organizations fit into the puzzle and how hopefully we can help you or a business that you know of and support you in the same ways. So like I said, I'm Jennifer Sinzaba. I'm with the New Mexico Manufacturing Extension Partnership. We are an organization that works with manufacturers throughout the state. We're a nonprofit entity, and our main focus is to grow manufacturing in the state of New Mexico. So we'd love to help our manufacturers optimize their processes and overcome any challenges that may exist within their organization, or bring in our partners and our resources like those that we have on today to do that. So without further ado, let's I did explain that Joanna Nelson from New Mexico Economic Development will be joining us as well. And now we have Jasper Riddle, the owner of Noisy Water Winery in Ruidoso, New Mexico, joining us today. He's going to be our guest of honor and tell us all the secrets of how to be successful, I think.
Oh, welcome. Man, all the secrets. All right, sounds good.
All the secret sauce. So welcome, Jasper. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's do a brief introduction. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your company?
Absolutely. So my name is Jasper Riddle. I'm pretty native to New Mexico. Moved here when I was 2 years old and went through K through 12. I live in Ruidoso, and we have businesses across the state. I'm with Noisy Water Winery is my business. And we have tasting rooms across our state, on top of vineyards as well in the state, and then a production facility here in Ruidoso, or technically our production facilities in Alto, New Mexico. So right here in the Ruidoso area. I've been back home for 10 years now, and we've taken the business from 4 employees to somewhere over 80 right now, and it was what was like a 500 case production to closer to a 40,000 case production as a winery. So we've seen some pretty rapid growth in the past decade, and it's been phenomenal to be back home in New Mexico and doing this and being a part of the grape growing and wine industry in the state. It's just a wonderful industry to be a part of, and I came home and thought I'd do it for a few years and go back to the rat race of the big cities, and it's contagious. Now I'm stuck. I love being home and wouldn't change it for the world, and and have enjoyed every bit of the growth and everything we've been able to do as a company in the past decade.
Well, that is amazing progress to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that and for bringing it back home and making it happen right here in New Mexico. We are proud to have you and your company here in the state, definitely. So you mentioned a little bit about the size of your business and how it's grown over the decade or so that you've been around. Can you tell us a little bit about the environment you're in right now, Ruidoso? How's Ruidoso doing under these times, and kind of what's happening in Ruidoso these days?
Yeah, it's growing up as a kid. Ruidoso it's an amazing place, and I think it's a very hidden gem in the state of New Mexico and the United States. It's one of those mountain towns that has not really exploded yet. And when I go to and I travel, I see a lot of towns that look and feel like Ruidoso, but the cost of living and the cost of business is significantly more. So I think you see that all over New Mexico. You see a lot of great hidden gem communities that I incentivize a lot of people to come to. Have a lot of friends coming in from other cities and states that get in and say, "Oh wow, like wait, what? What's a house cost here? I can't believe it." And so we're seeing a lot of that growth, and it's actually been, from a real estate standpoint, I think all of New Mexico has seen a crazy year this year with people leaving major metros and some other areas and coming here. And I think you've seen a lot of positive there in New Mexico from that standpoint. I was actually kind of shocked by it. I thought I would have seen a downturn, and it just hasn't slowed. With our business and other businesses, and it's been a crazy year, I think, and everybody can tell you that. And so we've seen opportunity in some places that we never saw opportunity before. So we saw exponential growth like online, and some places that we were not expecting to see growth. But then, of course, we saw with a lot of our business being direct to consumer in a retail environment, we definitely saw some interruption there. And I think Ruidoso saw that. One of the things I thought was pretty crazy about all this is that as a child, I remember Ruidoso to be like, it was very dependent on snow in the winter, and it was very dependent on horse racing and golf in the summer. And with a lot of that being changing due to COVID, seeing people come for just to hike and to get outdoors and to get away and to come spend time, and seeing New Mexico traveling in seeing more New Mexico residents, whereas a lot of times down here we used to get a lot of just Texas, so seeing more New Mexicans coming around. And so I think there's a lot of positive that you can learn from this as a business owner. I think Ruidoso is doing extremely well and really healthy and doing as good as we can do in these times. I think it's everyone's trying to adapt as you are across the state and understand what's next and how can you keep your business going, how can you keep your people staffed, and how can you do so safely and intelligently and adapt as the world's adapting. So I would love to see this start to subside. I would like to see this all start to go away. I think we're all ready for 2020 to be put behind us. But, I think overall, the town's seen a lot of benefit in what could have been a really, really rough year. We saw some downturn, early on, and especially in the summer because, of occupancy and because of the social distancing measures, a lot of measures in place. But then as we came out of that, we saw people come back in. So it's interesting, we're maybe down in the second quarter, but up in the third, and down, maybe, might pick it up in the third, might be down in the fourth, and pick up the first of next year. So I do think that you do see a lot of silver lining in the clouds right now down here, and I think everybody's fairly optimistic, as much as we are. I think with the rest of the New Mexicans ready to see, to see sunny days again across the board. But I've been impressed with my little community and the way they've adapted and functioned, and businesses have adapted and tried to work together to take steps to be open and be there.
I agree. I think that the adaptation and the innovation that I've seen out of small businesses across New Mexico has just been amazing during these times. So congratulations to you and all of those out there. And can you talk to us a little bit about the processes that you do? So do you grow the grape and then go through to winery? Are you getting that from somewhere else? So what is it that your business is encompassing at this point?
Absolutely. So when I first started in a decade ago, we were not growing any grapes. We didn't have a vineyard of our own. New Mexico's wine industry was in a little bit of a rough patch at that point in time, I would say. New Mexico's wine industry had not seen a lot of growth, and there was a lot of vineyards in the state that all the fruit was not being used in wineries. So the market from a grape grower standpoint was pretty bad. So I didn't want to come in and plant vineyards and make this big impact because it wasn't right. It wasn't the right choice to make. You already had grapes here. You already had planted acres. The supply was exceeding the demand, from a business sense and also from just a pure, bigger picture sense. I didn't want to come in and also add to the supply if we didn't have the demand for it. So we came in, we really tried to work with a lot of small growers. The big grower in the state is down in Deming, and that's Paul DeAndre. And he's a phenomenal man. And he's honestly carried the New Mexico wine industry on his back, I think, through a lot of the years without much recognition, because he has been that big grape grower that's kind of held together the industry, that's had the fruit for the whole industry. So people could put New Mexico fruit in the bottle. And so we were working with little small growers. I had a lot of people that, were maybe planted 4 acres or 5 acres or 10 acres, and they weren't having a good go of it. Or maybe the person that was supposed to take that fruit wasn't taking that fruit, or something had happened. So we wanted to right all those wrongs before we got involved into the grape growing side of it. However, I'm a 5th generation farmer. My mom's family was apple farmers. They came over from Italy via Ellis Island. And we joked that my grandfather was Johnny Appleseed, but he was not John Chapman. But he was just immigrants coming to America looking for opportunity, and that's what I grew up around, was farming as a child and alcohol production. So for us, we had the opportunity to jump in one of the older vineyards in the state that was unfortunately the ownership was walking away from at that point in time. So we purchased one of the older vineyards in the state last year. Last year is our 2nd year farming it this year. And just going in now and taking this vineyard that's almost 30 years old and trying to breathe new life into it and get a plan together. And that's what we've done. So now we are all the way from grape to bottle. So we use 100% New Mexico fruit in the bottle. I do believe we are the largest user of New Mexico fruit. Now, and for the size of our winery, I would say we're definitively the largest percentage user, 100% New Mexico in the bottle. So we've really focused on that and giving back to the industry. And then we grew a lot through direct to consumer, being out, having tasting rooms. That's a really cool thing that New Mexico has, is that people can pull into Ruidoso or Cloudcroft or Red River, Santa Fe, places we have tasting rooms, and try our product right there with my staff, educating them on it, buy it, become, fans and customers, and then they can have it shipped to their door, take it with them there. They find it later and they know the product, because getting a product from New Mexico onto a shelf that is wine, a non-California product, is very hard to get out. So, it's a lot of it is the education of your consumer on, this is what it is. Hey, try it. Oh, wow, you like it. It isn't, it's a good quality product. Now let me tell you a little bit of the story as to why you should care, why you should continue to consume. So that's been a lot of our model, but we're all the way to grape to bottle, and it's been a little bit of madness because we do so many things and we've had exponential growth. And I definitively think I've made a lot of mistakes along that. I still very much consider us a startup. We're a decade in, but I'm learning every year and every day. And then a year like 2020 comes around and you think you have everything drawn out. We were talking about this earlier, but you think you have all your ducks in a row and your bullet points, and you know what you're going to hit each quarter. And it's like, let's scrap the playbook and do something totally different. And, for me, I've been pretty cool to see how adaptable and great my team was, and how they jumped in so many different ways and did so many things that wasn't in their deck of cards nor mine. So, I've loved every part of it. I should say almost every part of being involved in New Mexico and being back home. And it's just cool to be a face that people identify with the wine industry in this state.
That's such an awesome story. And I love that grape to bottle. And I'm sure it's not anything, or I guess I know it's a lot more complex than kind of the old I Love Lucy of just stomping on the grapes and having some wine. So, so with that, I think as we dig a little bit more into that process, and maybe some, I think Jalal has some questions for you on kind of headed down the process hole and into the energy space. Jalal?
Yes.
And I'd like to welcome Joanna Nelson from New Mexico Economic Development joining us.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes. We can.
Oh, great. That's been like an hour of trying to get audio, and I've got this really cool headset. Okay. Sorry to interrupt. I'm here.
No problem. Thank you so much, Jasper. You are doing a great work for New Mexico. You are so passionate about the work that you are doing. Also, you are passionate about the environment and energy. So, if you could please tell us a little bit more about your energy consumption, what are you are doing on your energy side?
Absolutely. So for us, you're absolutely right. I'm a big believer in trying to conserve what we have. I think that from all of our use, we can reduce our impact in so many different ways and run sustainably and from energy efficiently is one thing we've really focused on within the past few years, because in the wine industry, that's the one thing, you are using a lot of energy. So we did put in solar. We used the REAP grant a few years back and put in solar on our facility and went solar powered. And I learned a lot about that. I undersized my system because I didn't. You can't factor exponential growth, which is great, but it's also mind-boggling. I think I make a lot of people mad at me because that's the rate in which we grow. We have like a little sheet we send over when we send over our finances or our growth patterns to the bank. It's like, no, these aren't typos sheet. It's like we explain it because we know it's not supposed to be that way. So I did undersize my panels. So I was hoping to have a fully, energy efficient facility, but I've learned from that. So now I'm looking at, okay, how do you offset? Okay, so we put in X amount of panels, we went solar powered, but now we have all of these new parameters. We have all this growth. How do we factor it in? How can you use more efficiently? So we've gone in even, looking at like spray foam insulation and better forms of insulation for our buildings and ways that we can smarter run power and, updating old pieces of equipment or going to LED lights and all these different ways that you can reduce that impact in what you're doing from a winemaking standpoint is something that we've really tried to look into, and we're very passionate about. The cool thing about our product is there's not a lot of byproduct, which is really nice for us. So the byproduct is actually compostable, so we can be kind of a full cycle when it comes to that sense in the wine industry. But even like some of the things we're looking at now is like, okay, we have all these glass bottles. Federal law doesn't actually allow you to recycle wine bottles. Crazy law, but we haven't changed it. So, okay, so we can't recycle. You can fill a growler of cider. Wine's harder to do in a growler, but how can you reduce the footprint of that? It's a multifaceted approach, I think, when you're talking about conservation. It's a lot of things. What can you do as a business to make sure you're reducing that footprint in every way you maneuver? But then how can you take these things that may or may not be a part of your, or are a part of your everyday model, but make sure you're doing that reuse out of them, and getting that consumer education there. Just it's so many different steps we can take. One of the things we're really key about in the vineyards as well too is drip irrigation. Water is that next resource that I think the American Southwest needs to pay a lot of attention to. And I think it's kind of a long time running, but we're seeing what's happening without water and as we are becoming drier and drier and warmer. So that's another cool thing about the wine industry too, is it's a really low water impact crop. You can do a lot of that via drip irrigation, so it's not this big heavy water user compared to other crops. So there is a lot that the wine industry brings to the table, and I think can bring for New Mexico that could really help cement those next steps and do so sustainably and really environmentally friendly. So there's a lot of opportunity there as an industry that I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg on. And I am myself as a company as well too on, what are those next steps? We've actually talked about, okay, our glass bottles, if we can't recycle, can we start using them to build, little walls around the property or build buildings with, and, with some crazy weird ideas we've been coming up with on what you can do with glass bottles. But just how can you, I think that's what we're always looking at is what's going to be my impact now? What's my growth pattern? That's the one recommendation I have for a lot of people is, well, you need solar of this size. The question should be, how big do you think you're going to be in 5 years? You should probably put that on your radar. You should probably make sure you're doing this now versus like doing what I did and say, oh, I'm at this size now. I'm 4 times bigger. I need 4 times the amount of solar. But, looking at that and how we can work on that. And New Mexico is a state that I think really should continue to plow into energy efficiency and running businesses efficiently. And we've done some of that from a manpower standpoint as well, too. In the vineyard and the winery as well, we have some automated equipment. We have a lot of different processes that we've tried to put in place, from making sure that we're running as lean and effective as possible at all times. One thing that was a real concern for us this year, which is something we combated in the vineyard, was was harvest labor. You did not have a lot of readily available labor. So I went and purchased a mechanical harvester, which could really do the work of 60 people in a day. It would offset 60 laborers more or less in one day, because it was not that we didn't want those people. It's just they weren't around. You have COVID, you have problems with that. Plus you have a limited labor force in your vineyards and a lot of your farms that's been declining for years now. So one of those things we're trying to get on top of is, okay, in the future, the old playbook's gone. How do we adjust as a business accordingly and make sure that we're prepared for this? Not just say, hey, we're going to grow a crop. Nobody can pick it. Well, that doesn't do you any good. That's not being a good farmer. And so, making sure you're prepped for that was something we're constantly doing and trying to be on top of, because it's a lot. It's a lot to guess what's next from our standpoint.
Okay, great. So can you share with us what is your, one area of your experience that you saved energy, you saved water, and, one of those areas that you have very good success?
One thing that's I really thought that everybody can do is, I've been so immensely impressed with the spray foam insulation. That's something that we did in a lot of our buildings. And oh my goodness, that is just so energy efficient, and compared to what we would standardly use has been huge there. That's one thing a lot of businesses can look into. And actually, there's a lot of the times your local power company will have a credit back for you to make those choices. So you actually can get money back from that. But that's one thing that we've done, and I've just been like, whoa, like these metal buildings, which standardly are not the most efficient, which a lot of people use for manufacturing, and they lose a lot of heat, or they're always hot or they're always cold, and at the wrong times of the year, right? So that's one of the things that I've noticed been great. We've switched over to LED in everything we use, so all of our lighting's LED, so it doesn't produce the heat, and it uses just a fraction of the electricity, which is an easy thing. I mean, if you don't have LED light bulbs in your home in 2020, shame on you. Okay, my grandmother would be so mad at me for saying that right now. She's like been fighting it for years. I'll replace them when they burn out, right? But but no, I mean, those are just little changes you can make, and you're going to see it back in your pocketbook too. And I think that's the thing you should say as a business owner is, it's like, I remember 20 years ago when we were talking solar, it's like, oh yeah, cool, it's a 70-year return on your investment. Solar's a horrible idea. And so a lot of people looked at it once and thought, never doing this again. And I think it's something now you can look at a lot of these energy efficient practices and say, whoa, like these are exponentially more cost effective than they were just 5 years ago. Right. And I can save money and I can do the right thing for the environment. And that should be a no-brainer choice for business owners in our state.
All right, great. Joanna, since you joined us late, do you have some question for Jasper?
Sure. Hey, Jasper. Let's see. I'm curious what you just mentioned about the spray insulation, because I think that we've heard that from other businesses, and making kind of the retrofitting and looking at light bulbs and replacing those. How did you guys analyze that? Did you do a complex dive into that, or did you to see how much you were saving? Can you shed some light into that process?
Jalal and his team brought some folks out about a year ago and gave us some ideas for a couple of our buildings, and that was one of the things that early on. So the spray foam for me was something that we were building a metal building. We were looking at the cost of just standard insulation, but then I had all these other parameters I wanted. I wanted it to be closed cell. I wanted it to be where you could wash it and clean it and all these other things in a warehouse building. And then I started looking at the RF factor, and the RF factor of this stuff was like 10 times what standard insulation was, plus it had all these other benefits. And yeah, it was a little more money. So we put it in one building kind of as a beta test, because we do have some buildings that are all the old board and bat style insulation in some of our warehouses. We put it in, and it's like now all of a sudden you have an HVAC unit that would be usually standardly sized for something that was like a fourth of that size that now can keep this building currently there. So now you're thinking about, okay, not only is this building way more efficient, but also you're using so much less energy going in there. The LEDs was something that we were looking at as we were getting in new fixtures and buildings, and had recommendations to say, okay, well, let's change this out, or these new fixtures are LED, and then seeing electric bills just reduce drastically on something. I remember it was years ago for me, but my brother-in-law and I were having a conversation, and he was bragging about how he had changed his whole house to LED, and he was like, trying to get his electric bill less than $20 a month. And we had very similar sized homes. And I was like, oh, like you can do that? That's a thing, you know? So thinking, wow, I could buy $100 worth of light bulbs and I could reduce my electric bill by $50 worth a month. So, but then taking that from like what would be my home application and saying, let's plug this into the business, let's try it. For the solar, for the REAP grant, then you're meeting, that's outside of my realm of knowledge. So now we're meeting with contractors and experts in the field and reaching out to different teams, different departments and asking, hey, does this make sense? Or people that have done it and kind of seeing what they would see and what they would do and how they would get there. And it's just, I think a lot of it is kind of looking, you know, for me, I always look at, we have finite amount of resources. How can we conserve those resources most intelligently? However, from a company standpoint, you know, you have to put your business hat on sometimes too and say, okay, I might save $5 here, but it's going to cost me $100,000 to make this change, where this is another simple change I can make that I see a dollar for dollar ad right away. And you know, I always recommend to business owners, you know, be aware of what government programs are out there. Be aware of what credits and subsidies are out there. You know, for my solar, that was something that like I had to go do an electric service upgrade anyway. So if I'm going to go spend $100,000 on electrical, why don't I go ahead and make the choice to add $100,000 of the solar to that package as well too, and do it all at the same time? And you actually might have some of that can be credited back. So, you know, being smart about looking and researching when you are having to make that decision. I think the biggest learning curve I had is just realizing not to Band-Aid something and not to say, oh, well, we're going to do half of this building and then in 2 years we're going to do half. And that's not worked out as for me as well. I think it's better about making the right choice, biting the bullet sometimes and saying, you know what, I'm going to spend a little extra, but now this project is done and it is put to bed and we're not going to have to come back to this for 10 years or 20 years. And that's definitely a recommendation I have. But, you know, a lot of our different state programs have been available. People in our, you know, even just like our local SBDC chapters, you know, referred us over to different programs. And, you know, that's the cool thing too, is anytime I've talked to somebody in our state level at a government agency, it's like they've referred me over, oh, hey, well, you know what, we don't do this, but you should talk to so-and-so, or have you talked to so-and-so about this program they're doing. And that's where I've come privy to a lot of this, on top of the fact that, you know, I've had I guess I studied regional development in school. So, you know, one of the things for me is how can you grow intelligently and smart and reducing as much of our footprint we have as a species, because we're kind of make a big nasty footprint that we have to work on. So, you know, I'm always a big part of that.
Great. You hit on a lot of really key points. And first I have to say, I really like that competition that you have with your brother, because maybe we can implement something like that. The biggest loser, and see who can reduce their energy bill by the most. I love that idea. And you also mentioned that one of the strategies that you deploy in your business, I think, is really applicable for right now as companies struggle to engage in the economy during this health crisis, is being aware of resources, because we're really seeing that companies need to reach out to their network and to reach out to the people that can help. Because you pointed out you were able to utilize the services of Jalal's organization, and I think that at times it can be really scary for people of making an investment up front, whether it's for solar panels or even something a smaller cost being light bulbs. And there's people that can help analyze that and show the benefits down the line. So great job. I had one more question. You mentioned, you know, you mentioned your grandmother, and it made me think of something. You know, we're looking at consumers that are aware of your footprint. And have you seen the strategies that you all are employing, doing energy savings and renewable energy, and looking at your waste? Do you see that affecting how consumers interact with your product? That's important for them? Have you seen that?
I do, absolutely. And I think we're starting to see more and more of that. And that's one of the things that, you know, that I think as your consumers understand who you are and who you are as a business and what your ethical values are as a business and what's important to you, that they begin to really kind of try to pay attention to that. And that started for me years ago with a bottle of wine when talking to New Mexicans and saying, yes, you can get this bottle of wine from this country. I'm not going to make fun of a particular country, but in this country for significantly less dollars than you can get a bottle of New Mexico wine. And yes, that money will go back to that country. And you're right, like, congrats. You've saved yourself $7. None of that stayed in your local economy. None of that supported what you do. None of that has helped, make that economic impact locally, which is, especially in a year like this, is just so dire. I mean, we have to keep those dollars local in New Mexico. So, I've used a little bit of that thought into jumping into that next step of, okay, how can I show my customer that we are ethical, that we do care, that we try to uphold the best practices from the vineyard, from the vineyard into the winery, into the choices we're making, into, our customers, our employees. We recently we are a full benefits company for our employees, and we're one of the few full benefits employers in the area. And that's massive. That's a huge thing for me. I thought that was so great to be able to offer that. But how can you translate that back over to the regular person consuming your product? If your staff's not telling that story, how can you get that, consumed back over to where it's like, okay, this company does do this. They do that. They do care about the environment. We have little bottled by the sun sticker on the back of the bottles, but people may or may not pay attention to that. So I do think a lot of it is that being a part of your brand story, that this is important to you as a brand, that you do care about this. Water, a lot of the times I think people understand when a company is just fully profit driven. And I think the consumer is becoming to be more intelligent of, okay, they're just chasing the almighty dollar all the time. That's all that's important to this company and the people in this company. And that's where they want to leave those dollars. New Mexico is not a rich state. And so I understand when companies are sitting back saying like, oh, I have to watch this, I have to watch this, I have to watch that. But look at that big round world in which you're affecting, and it starts locally. So if you can help ease the impact from a energy efficiency standpoint and to a just what you're doing as a user, when you're talking about water in our area, if what you're doing is an upstream user versus a downstream user, nobody knows more about that than farmers. Nobody sees the effects of what somebody's doing upstream and affecting what they're doing downstream. So the more we're paying attention, the more we realize, I think, who the good neighbors are. And I think that's where you hope your customer supports with their dollar. You hope that they say, you know what? Yeah, this bottle of wine's $3 cheaper, but these people care, and they care about the dollars that are coming back into our local and state communities, or they care about the environment, and they care about the fact that they're not just trying to just take and take and take until there's no more. And that's the one thing you hope that you motivate out of business. It's hard to do at times, but it's the one thing I think, as you're going to see supply chain shortages and all these things happening, that we're already starting to see as a manufacturer right now with COVID. I think you are going to start seeing people say, wow, this is something I need to pay attention to, or I should have been paying attention to sooner.
Great. So what I think I'm hearing you say is save the economy, save the environment by drinking wine, New Mexico wine. Yes,
sorry.
I love that.
The more you drink, the more we say.
All right, I'm on board with that. I think you've got like a bumper sticker campaign future ahead of you. Great philosophy.
Anything with drink on a bumper sticker might get me in trouble.
Oh, that's right. Very true. Don't drink while you're driving, but yes.
You can't tell kids to drink or drivers to drink. Those are the two audiences.
Good point.
What's your home in the beach? Drink responsibly. Save the economy.
Okay, Jen, you want to take it away?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. And I obviously we support New Mexico made and manufacturing everything that's New Mexico made. And if we don't have it here, then we can look US made. But keep it local, keep it supportive. Is a great way to stimulate the economy and support the industries that maybe are hurting a little bit right now, especially during COVID times. So I wanted to doing great things on energy efficiency. I was wondering how that translates into your processes. Have you worked? I know you mentioned you tried to set up your lean processes. Any tips out there for others on some things that maybe you did, some low-hanging fruit specific to your process and becoming more efficient in that area?
Absolutely. And, and for us being a manufacturer, I think you're looking through every single step of the way and saying, okay, what is this optimization going to bring to the table as our company? And a lot of the times you're sitting there and you're saying, oh my goodness, I need everything. I don't just need this one piece of equipment. I need all of these things together. And how do I prioritize that? That's constantly the small business plight, right? Is that you have all these dreams and aspirations, you just don't have the money to do it. And I've known that for more of my future as a small business owner and more of my past than I have anything. And how do you prioritize that? One of the things that I always try to look at is, okay, when am I going to see the ROI from this piece of equipment? And then also too, what is the biggest, problem or stop or barrier to entry coming into this next thing? What am I hearing the most about? And then sometimes that kind of helps you work the decision backwards almost from there. So like for me personally, if it was something in our manufacturing process, one thing we did, which is not even us, but it was just a timetable thing. But okay, so we were constantly waiting on labels to bottle wine. We were always ready to bottle, but we never had our labels. Okay. And you would think, oh, well, one bottle of wine. Well, that's a lot of additional money because essentially you're having to run the same product through your manufacturing line twice the way we were structured. So something like that, sitting down now a year in advance with my director of operations and saying, let's get next year's labels ordered now, sitting on the floor, spending this money now. But now this thing that's constantly stopping our manufacturing processes, which meaning we're sitting idle, which means equipment sitting idle, but overhead's not sitting idle, is something that is actually costing us a lot more than we're factoring in. So how can what's this thing from the outside? I didn't have to buy anything. I just had to be smarter about, my product chain and what I was getting on the floor and when I was ready for my manufacturing and making sure I didn't run into these problems. That was an easy fix for us. Now you have some
time to cash, right?
Right away, and even then talking to your vendors. I remember going to a vendor and saying, hey, look, we want to order all these bottles and blah, 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 but it's like all this money that we don't necessarily have and we don't really want to give you the down payment. And the vendor was like, oh, well, that's no problem. We don't require you to pay until they're shipped. We just want your order now that we can add it into our demand. It helps us. We'll even give you a better price. But we now know you're going to say you're going to take this product. We'll prepare it for you. We'll have it waiting. We'll warehouse it for free. And I was like, whoa, this is an option. But you didn't know because you didn't ask. You didn't say, hey, can you warehouse this for free? What if I buy X amount of units? Or even getting into, units purchased sometimes is a huge thing for small businesses. Is that, okay, well, I'm going to get a glass. Remember when I used to get bottles a pallet at a time? Well, now that I get bottles of semi at a time, I pay half of what I used to pay when I was getting a pallet at a time for a better quality good. Well, I remember there was probably years that I was buying a half semi load of glass at the price that I was paying for a pallet by a time. But I didn't take the time to do my research and say, oh, well, if I would double my order, I would actually pay the same amount of money for twice the amount of product. And that's crazy to think of as a small business owner, I think, because you're running so many times that you don't sit back and look at your processes already. But especially in a year like this, when you have times that get lean, that's the first things you need to look at is all these different little variables that add up to be a lot of different dollars. And energy efficiency plays right into that. How many times you actually look at your electric bill? How many times you actually look at your water bill? How many times you actually look at what you're spending? And then you think, oh, wow, it's costing me another $10,000 a year to run this HVAC unit versus a new one. And the local power company is going to give me a credit back to buy a new unit because it's efficient. Taking that little time to do that, I think is just some of the things we've done really well with in the past few years and things that we have to continue to do. And it's frustrating for me when I catch those late and you think, oh, I just wasted so much money in the past 3 or 4 years doing this thing that I could have done so much more intelligently. And also learning too, I think sometimes small businesses try to do too much and they don't try to say, hey, let me go grab an expert here, or let me subcontract this out and grab somebody that can come in, that this is what they do all day long. And have them come in, and by the time the dust settles, they actually probably save you money and you get a way better product out. So I guess a lot of it's a learning curve on learning how to run leaner and smaller and smarter in a lot of ways, especially in crazy years like this.
And I think that's perfect. It's a journey, right? If we could all do it the right way from day one, it'd be a very different conversation. But that's why we're also so grateful for you being here today, sharing that. Hopefully there's viewers out there that can pick up on it and implement it and get it going as well. So thank you, Jasper. Joanna?
Sure. I'm looking at the questions that we had laid out, and I think you've done a really great job, Jasper, of answering a lot of it. You know, you've talked about utilizing the network that you have and the resources that you have found in the state. Can you speak a little bit about the value at looking nationally? Is there a support system nationally that you've found that's been helpful in terms of energy efficiency or renewable energy systems within your industry?
I've found a great national and now international network of people that I can reach out to and ask problems about, especially when it comes to optimization and ways that they would do things from an efficiency standpoint, and especially talking in manufacturing. The wine industry in America is, based out of California. And when I travel internationally, the world likes to remind me that there's a bigger world than California too, when you're talking about the wine industry. But talking to people there and being able to say, hey, look, I'm looking at buying this piece of equipment. What would you do if you had to do it again? I remember going into the facility that had, I thought we had exponential growth, and they'd gone from 1,000 cases to 1.2 million cases in like 15 years. Just like, whoa, that's intangible. That's like Elon Musk is running that company. That's the type of growth model that they were having, and I wish he was. I wish he was in the wine industry someday. But wine in space, New Mexico wine in space. We have to make that happen.
Perfect. You're coming up with all of these great
taglines.
Great taglines. Wine in space.
We're an angle. We're close to spaceport. I just selfishly want my crazy hippie uncle vineyard manager Richard to meet Sir Richard and then drink wine in space someday. It's that is my selfish goal.
We can make this happen. I think we can make this happen.
New Mexico wine in space would be like my favorite thing ever. But so talking to people and going in and like honestly for me, and I went to Italy with a friend of ours that does bottling line optimization. And I saw like some of our best and coolest factories in California is doing what I do in manufacturing. And then I saw what the Italians are doing, and they've optimized their whole wine industry like exponentially 20 years ago. So it was insane watching watching production that was the production I watched was probably 100 times faster than I am daily, running with 3 less people than I run, and just all robotic. And it was funny. I thought it was a language barrier when they were telling me like, oh, we'll go watch the robots. And I'm like, they mean automation. And then robots picking up bottles and looking, and I'm like, oh, whoa, like we're actually watching robots. Where's the Terminator? It scared me. But I think for things like that is being able to go walk and see what other people are doing, what they've done, and talking to them about. Because I remember there was some interim piece of equipment I thought I needed. And then talking to people that have made these choices, like, no. Don't buy the interim piece of equipment. By the time you get it on your floor, you're going to outgrow it. Like, hold tight, work with what you have, and then buy that next leap and spend your money there. And things like that, which was crazy to me. Somebody that's selling you the equipment, telling you, don't buy this from me, wait and buy the next thing, and then you'll be better off. So nationally, that's been amazing for us. Coming out of New Mexico is cool because not a lot of people know the New Mexico wine industry as a national or international story. So I think they're like very unguarded with you because it's like, it's not this big threat to them, So it's like, oh, wow, you're making wine in Mexico? Here, let me tell you what we did, or this was cool. And in the wine industry, I used to work in sports broadcast years ago, and I was coached a little bit. And so I worked in these 2 totally different realms, and it was very like tight-lipped, closed door. The wine industry is not that way at all. Everybody's been really awesome about, oh, yeah, that was a mistake, or, oh, man, I would have done this differently, or, ooh, you're doing this in the vineyard. And even here in New Mexico, when you would think, ooh, competition shouldn't talk to each other, I think we've all really figured out we need each other to make it to that next step, and we have to work together because if New Mexico gets it on the map as a key producer, everybody wins. But we can't get New Mexico on the map out of the 50 states unless we're all going there unified. And so I think learning that and getting others to see that and getting others to say, wow, like you're successful, let me pick your brain, let's help each other out, let's get there together. A rising tide lifts all ships is something I preach to my team all the time. And I feel like the industry feels that way, and I definitely feel that way in New Mexico. So a lot of things I've seen. I know a little bit of a rant there, but just a lot of the things I've seen in the past 10 years that it have helped us make those proper steps. And then, a trial by fire too. There's definitely been some times I've done something and then 6 months later been like, ooh, that was a horrible mistake. But you live and you learn,
Right.
and I think that's entrepreneurialism. I think that's small business at its greatest. If you're not learning from your mistakes and you don't like making mistakes, you're in the wrong industry if you're a small business owner.
Right. Right.
The price of poker is real. But the cool thing is when you win, and as a small business owner, which is always great too. So,
And I think something else to add to that too is being willing to try something like looking at your efficiency or looking at renewable energy systems. You've got to be willing to take risk or try something different. So I think that's really well taken. And something just to point out something that you mentioned, not only once you have an efficiency with your energy use and your consumption, but then you get into this idea of a closed loop economy where you are working together and you're looking at, okay, is there somebody down the road that can use our grape pulp or the glass bottles or, and that's something really exciting to look at too. I think that's a part of this whole discussion, not only about energy efficiency and renewables, but how can we all be a supportive economy? So, go ahead.
You're right on it there. I mean, like if COVID didn't show us one thing, I think it showed us the major chinks in the armor of a global economy. I mean, we were all worried about toilet paper, and food could be a real issue, could be a real concern at a later point if you're having these problems. So I think the more of that you can keep locally and sustainably doing in your own economies, from a food, wine, beer, craft production, the more New Mexico can provide for New Mexico and not need that global economy to function at all times, I think the better off we're going to be, because we are a rural state that doesn't have this big major population and kind of does keep to itself and always has. So I think the more we can do and work together in our state, the better New Mexico is going to be prepared for that next pandemic or that next big disaster. And I mean, COVID showed me that right away. It's like, like we need to have other plans, because if I'm dependent on a product coming from China to here to make sure my company can function, I probably need to revisit my business plan.
Right, right. Okay, thank you. And we should probably take the last question. Jalal, do you want to throw out the last question and then we'll wrap it up?
Sure. Jasper, you have done great work, and during this last 10 years, actually, I have two questions. I can combine them. First, did you have any? I'm sure you had a lot of obstacles. What was the major obstacles that you had implementing your, ideas, and what is the best piece of advice you can give to the small businesses on energy efficiency?
On energy efficiency, for me, I think the best piece of advice I can give people is really have a good plan together, have a phase plan if that's what you can do, but really sit back and don't look at where you are now, but look at where you're going. Look at what you think your future demands are going to be. I always used to joke around that the way we built roads is like, we're going to build the road now for the road that we'll need after, like 2 years after the project's done. And I think, that's people's business plans a lot of the times, is that, oh, I need this now, let me buy this. Well, no, think about that. Think about where your business is going to be in 5 years, in 10 years, from an efficiency and energy efficiency standpoint. What do you think your impact's going to be? How much power do you think you're going to need and use? And don't be afraid to pick up the phone and tap these resources. We have so many intelligent people sitting around this state in our universities and a lot of our state agencies that are available to help, that want to help, but they don't know you're there. And unless you're reaching out and asking for help and just talk to somebody, they're going to help get you in with the right people. And you might call the wrong office, but they're going to know who you should talk to, and be patient, but it's worth the wait in getting out there and making sure that you're doing this right, because it can save you hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it can make the difference in the future growth of your business. I think a lot of people don't want to work for something that looks like it's constantly band-aided together, that looks like there's no long-term plan. Having that together is going to be critical and crucial in your business. And and running it intelligently and you know, and feeling good about it every day. You know, I think running an energy efficient business, running an efficient business, looking at the impact you're making, you feel good about going into that building every day. You know, you feel good about the fact that like you're trying to do your part in this world to be a better earthling. You know, you're trying to reduce your impact here on what you're going to leave behind to the next generation. And I think that should be a part of everybody's business plan, but you don't have to find that alone. You have a lot of intelligent people with phone numbers and emails that are about to pop up on that screen. Like, use these resources, guys. Even if you don't know where to start, reach out to one of these people and just say like, hey, I have no idea where to start here, but I want to try. I want to try to do something. And they might tell you, you know what, you're doing everything right. Or they might tell you, here's some things you can look at. Or they might say, you don't need this now, but in 5 years you need it. But at least you now have some building blocks. Rome wasn't built in a day. Businesses aren't built in a day, but it definitely can fall in one. So, you know, make sure you're taking that time and prepping for all of this. I don't know, keep pushing forward. That's my advice to all business owners, especially in 2020. Don't take no for an answer. Keep pushing forward. Keep working hard. You will find the break you're looking for. It took me 5 years to feel like I found my first big break, and then I had great years and then some bad ones mixed in. But just keep working hard. You're gonna get there. I know, especially in a year like this for small businesses, they feel like nothing's going their way, but it will move your way. You know, keep working there, stay persistent, and know that you have a lot of people that support you in this state. Reach out and ask for help.
Thank you.
Great. Jasper, fantastic information. Thank you so much for participating. And we really want to wish you well. You are doing incredible work, you and your team. And we put the website to the winery up because you all have some really fantastic photos and beautiful space down there. So wishing you the best, Jasper. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much.
Anything you want to close with? That was pretty powerful.
No, thank you guys for having me. Thank you all for doing what you do. I know it's a wild and crazy year for all New Mexicans, but you know, thank you guys for supporting New Mexico. Thank you for shopping, you know, locally and shopping online and buying and you know, drink locally, please. You know, drink New Mexico wine, New Mexico beer. Support that. We need your help. The whole industry needs your help right now. You know, help us get through this because it could be a really cool thing for New Mexico to see these industries to continue to flourish. So. You know, thank you all for everything you're doing and for everybody tuned in listening. And I hope to see you all responsibly and safely in the years to come down here at Ruidoso. Come pay us a visit.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I've got your two taglines. Drink New Mexico wine, save the economy and the environment. We have to work on that one. And New Mexico, we've got wine and space travel.
I think that's where we're going. You know, if we can drink wine on a spaceship soon, I'm good.
Yes.
You can test me up. You can shoot me up first, no problem. You know?
Awesome. Thank you so much, and please take care.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
All right, and we are going to wrap it up. I know we're pushing a little bit against time. Don't want to take much more than an hour. We were going to close by highlighting the services provided by NMSU, MEP, and EDD. So let's go ahead. There we go. All right, Jalal, you're up.
All right. So this is my contact information. And please feel free to email me if you have any questions. This is our website. You can go and there's a form that you can fill out. We do the virtual assessment now. So please go ahead and send me an email and we'll see if we can help you. The next slide, please. We have a couple of programs. One is pollution prevention. And the idea is to reduce, reuse, recycle. And the last thing you want to do is to dispose it. And this is also goes for all energy, for chemical waste, for all the kinds of things that have negative effect on the environment. You want us to come and look at your operation if you are dealing with hazardous waste, so you don't have to go through EPA doesn't come and, you know, we are not regulatory agency, we are university. So what we are doing is just coming and helping you so you don't have to face and pay fine later on the road. Next, please. So another program we have is energy, environment, and economy. So this is called E3. We also call it Lean and Green. We work closely with Jennifer and her team for doing these E3s. We have worked all over the state, and we have impacted a lot of businesses and helped them to be more energy efficient and also save on their water. And that usually takes about 2.5 days. It's a very comprehensive program. It covers everything from lean to green and environment. So everything is covered in this program. Next, please. So we have helped different businesses before, and but the one that we are just got the funding from EPA, it's going to be focused on food and beverages and agriculture. But we still have another funding that we can work with you if you have other businesses as well. Next, please. So this is kind of, if we when we do the report, we come up with a series of recommendations. And if businesses implement those recommendations, that's the results they can save. From 2015 to 2019, those are the numbers that we have come up, and we gave recommendation to the businesses. And hopefully, I know some of them they have implemented, some they have not, but we are hoping that everybody can implement those suggestions and recommendations. Some of them are no cost, some of them are low cost, some of them are needing some resources, but that's what there are resources available that can help you. All right, that's all I have for the time being, and please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Jalal. As explained before, Jennifer Sinzabal with New Mexico MEP, the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Here's our contact information. So if you think there's anything we can help with, and as has been said many times here and echoed by Jasper, our guest as well, was, don't be afraid that you might have the wrong organization, because hopefully we have portrayed here, as well as many other places, that we all work really well together. And so if it's not the right phone call the first time, any of us will try to get you to the right location to try and help as much as we can. So next slide. What New Mexico MEP does, our main mission is to grow New Mexico manufacturing. And so we have a team of manufacturing and engineering experts that are available to go to physically go to manufacturing sites and plants and facilities. And we help with a lot of different areas. We talked today about process optimization and efficiency, also product development, taking that, maybe you had an idea and a concept and you've gotten it all the way to the stage of now, how do I make it? What is that going to look like in manufacturing as part of your manufacturability plan? Also scale up, we deal a lot with, I make 500 of my widget a week and I need to make 1,500. How am I going to do that? What's that going to look like? And we have several training options for lean methodologies and workforce development, and the rest of the list, as you can see there. Doing some work these days in supply chain, helping companies that maybe their supply chain was rocked a little bit during the COVID efforts, or also made some folks think about what they need to do differently with their supply chain. We can help answer some of those questions. So give us a call or get onto our website. Next. We also want to expand awareness about the manufacturing community in New Mexico. We're coming up on the end here, but October is Manufacturing Month in the state of New Mexico. In non-COVID times, normally we have tours of manufacturing facilities going on. This year we went virtual. The good news is that means that it can last a lot longer than just October. So we have posted a lot of tours of different manufacturing facilities throughout the state on our website. I encourage everybody to look at that. See what's made here in New Mexico by New Mexicans. Next. We are part of a national MEP network. So there's an MEP in every state and in Puerto Rico as well. So we're all loosely connected and affiliated through the Department of Commerce and the National Institute of Standards and Technologies. And what that means is that we have access to experts in every state. So we work together as a national network. And so if we don't have the answer for you here in New Mexico, we can always reach out and lean on those centers and those institutions to try and help overcome whatever challenge a manufacturer might be facing. Next. That's it. Joanna.
Thanks, Jen. I want to remind everyone that within this program, the New Mexico Rural Efficient Business Program, you can go to our website right there, nmruralbiz.com, and sign up for a variety of resources. So you can see upcoming interviews. Our next one, we will feature Southwest Cheese, I believe, coming up on the 19th in November. You can see all of our past interviews, and then you also can request services from Jalal and Jennifer's organization. So the no-cost energy assessment that Jalal was mentioning from his organization, you can sign up there. And if you want to be contacted by MEP and follow up with them and get more information, you can do that on this website. So please go to the site and sign up. You can also, I don't think I mentioned, sign up for the newsletter. So if there is interesting news and updates happening around the state in regard to energy efficiency or financing opportunities, you will get notifications. Next slide, please. I wanted to highlight a bit from the state perspective about, from our position, some of the opportunities and partners that we have worked with that really can help in this space and help to pay for whether you're retrofitting or you're looking at implementing some type of renewable energy source. And so this program is actually funded partially by a grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, through their REAP, Rural Energy Assistance Program that Jasper mentioned. They had received grant funding to help pay for their solar panels. They also fund educational programs like this one to get the word out. So USDA REAP is a fantastic program that can be utilized to help pay for renewable energy systems. Also, the Small Business Administration, SBA, has a number of loan programs that can be really helpful, very beneficial to businesses that are looking at financing some type of implementation. Microfinancers are a good option as well. These are the organizations that are not traditional banks, but they are nonprofit organizations that can make loans. And oftentimes they are lending to customers or to businesses that are experiencing some type of difficulty getting a loan at a traditional bank. So our big players in the state are West, the Loan Fund, and I did put Axion. I need to change this. It's actually Dream Spring now, but there's a number of them, and they're fantastic partners. Provider financing, Jasper mentioned this one as well. Oftentimes utility companies have some type of rebate, or also the actual manufacturer of a product can offer financing, and sometimes that's a good fit too. Energy companies, and then also wanted to mention our economic development department at the state level. We have a grant program that is called Local Economic Development Act, otherwise known as LEDA, and this funding can go toward manufacturers or companies that are producing at least 50% of their revenue from out of state. We can help pay for land, building, or infrastructure. And within infrastructure, that can encompass some type of renewable energy system. So it can be a tool to help you pay for some of these ideas. Next slide, please. These are the actions and follow-ups that we hope that you take. One of the missions that we want to put forth through this program is that we want to create a network. We want to create a dialogue and a conversation around energy use, around efficiency, and around renewable energy. So one of the ways that you can do that, sign up for our weekly newsletter. That is keeping communications open. We put out a newsletter every week that highlights financing opportunities. And that is coming from across the board, federal, state, nonprofits, foundations, news articles. We're highlighting it all and getting that information out every Friday. You can sign up on our website. We also are doing finance fairs, and this is a way that you can connect directly with financing organizations or lenders. And our next finance fair is coming up December 9th, I believe, and we'll be focusing on the southwestern part of the state. So this will be an online event where you can hear directly from banks and financing organizations that are down in that area that are looking for projects, looking for feasible projects. And so you'll hear directly from them. You can connect with them, get their contact information, and follow up with them. Also, your local economic development organizations are a really good resource. Always know what's going on. Always have some insight into financing opportunities for you. So whether you have a nonprofit or an organization in your community, or that might be your local government. If you have questions, you don't know where to go, you can always reach out to us. And we have regional reps that are located throughout the state, and they represent our department and are very well connected to your community, and they know exactly who to talk to and very knowledgeable about how to connect you to these various resources. Next slide, please. And wrapping it up, this is my contact information. Call me anytime. I answer my phone, email. You can also find our EDD department website, gonm.biz. Our program website is nmruralbiz.com. You also can find recordings to past interviews, as well as our webinar series that the EDD puts out. And we do those about at least once a month, and we highlight financing programs as well as other opportunities for small businesses. So you can find all of that on our YouTube channel, and then you can follow us on Twitter. We're also putting out information that way. So is that the end of the slide? Okay, once again, please, a reminder, go to our website and you can sign up for these resources, no cost energy assessment from NMSU, or to link up with MEP and figure out if that's a good fit for you, or you can connect with us, EDD, and we can figure out what opportunities are available to you and make the connections for you. So let's wrap up. I think we are about at time. Jennifer and Jalal, do you have any final closing remarks that you want to share?
No, just feel free to contact me, and I'll be happy to help you during this difficult time.
Thank you.
You're muted.
We can't hear you, Jennifer.
Sorry about that. I echo that. Thank you for tuning in today, as they would say, and keep supporting local business here in New Mexico, and we'll get through these times.
Great point. And thanks again to NMSU, MEP for being great partners in this program funded by USDA's Rural Energy Assistance Program. And big shout out to Noisy Water Winery in Ruidoso. They're doing some really incredible things. I'm going to take Jasper's advice at 5 o'clock and drink some New Mexico wine to save New Mexico, not to save, but to help the New Mexico economy and environment. So I'd encourage you all to do the same. So thank you guys so much, and hope you can tune in to the next interview. That'll be information will be coming out about that. It'll be in mid-November. I think we're doing that before Thanksgiving with Southwest Cheese out in Tucumcari. Thank you all so much. Take care, and we'll be in touch.